Good afternoon. It is 4 p.m. We're bringing you the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. So here are the stories we're watching this Tuesday, July 15. Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla says some victims of the drug war may have been dumped in Taal Lake in Batangas. He said that in an interview with Morning Matters on One News today, wherein Remulla confirmed that authorities are not discounting the possibility the drug war victims, just like the missing Sabongeros, suffered the same fate. He also revealed that investigators are looking into areas from Metro Manila to Region 4, where several disappearances possibly intersect. Meantime, the Justice Chief also identified a police colonel as a key figure behind the disappearance of the Sabongeros.
That person is really suspected of the one running the show, Dito. He was based in Calabarzon at that time. And he was part of the intelligence operatives of Calabarzon for a long time. Kaya na-zero in na namin to. It's a police colonel. Yung main contractor was getting 500,000 per person disposed of.
A recent SWS survey showed that President Bongbong Marcos's trust ratings rose to 48% in June 2025. That's up 10 percentage points from the previous month. The survey was conducted from June 25 to 29 and had about 1,200 adult respondents with a margin of error of plus minus 3%. Stratbase President Dean Dumanhit, and they're the ones who commissioned the survey, said the increase indicates renewed public confidence in the Marcos administration. Another survey, and this one says majority or 66% of Filipinos say Vice President Sara Duterte should face impeachment charges. That's according to an SWS survey. Support is highest in Metro Manila at 76% and lowest in Mindanao at 55%. The survey was also commissioned by Stratbase and polled just the same number of adults, which is 1,200 nationwide, from June 25 to 29. Malacanang has responded to the issue around First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos in a media briefing earlier this afternoon. PCO Undersecretary Claire Castro branded as fake news the reports linking the First Lady to the death of Rustan's executive Paulo Tantoco. Tantoco died of cocaine effects 4 months ago. That's according to the official coroner's report. The palace dismissed allegations that the businessman was part of Mrs. Marcos's entourage in the U.S. at the time of his death. Just yesterday, Presidential sister Senator Amy Marcos called on Malacanang to submit a comprehensive report on Tantoco's death. Amy also demanded clarification on the whereabouts of Liza at the time of the incident, something that the palace press officer Claire provided.
Nakakalungkot dahil yung mga pribadong tao na nagluluksa ay nadadamay sa pamumulitika. Ginagamit ng ibang mga obstructionists para masira ang First Lady, ang Pangulo at ang administrasyon na ito. Nakakahiya ang kanilang mga ginagawa. Unang-una, si Mr. Paulo Tantoco ay hindi po kasama sa official entourage ni FL o ni First Lady. Kahit kayo po mismo ay maaaring mag-imbestiga sa nasabing lugar, sa Beverly Hills Police Department. Ang unang ginang po, nung siya ay nasa Los Angeles, ay meron po siyang security service na provide ng US. At meron din po siyang kasamang PSG. Hindi rin po siya nag-stay sa nasabing hotel ni Mr. Tantoco. Iba po ang kanyang hotel. At meron po siya mga activities, March 8. Kung pwede po nating maipakita sa monitor. March 8, makikita niyo po sa screen na mayroong konsyerto para sa Filipino. Makikita niyo sa larawan din, Secretary Cristina Frasco. March 8 yan ginanap, hapon hanggang gabi. Pilit nilang binabago ang kwento sa mga journalist na nagpapanggap na kayo journalist, pero lumalabas na kayo propagandista. Maawa po kayo sa bansa. Maawa po kayo sa taong bayan. Huwag niyo pong lokohin ang mga Pilipino.
All right, joining us a little later, as always, we've got Storycon's resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas. And meantime, let me bring in from the Philippine Star, Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan. Hi, Ami.
Hi. Hi, Reg.
Hello, tayo lang
Magandang
muna.
hapon po sa lahat. Tayong dalawa lang, the witches daw tayo.
The two wicked witches of the East. Wala, ako yung East, ikaw nasa South.
East and West.
East
and West tayo.
East and South.
Ako yung sa West.
Kasi si Ronald is na-traffic. Grabe yung traffic sa EDSA today. I don't know, ano ba meron?
Oo.
July 15?
Ewan ko nga ba. Wala namang ulan pa. Not yet.
Oo nga eh. Payday, pero still...
Na-late lang yung gising.
Oo nga eh. I don't know. And I kasi near our office, sobrang grabe din yung traffic, so I couldn't...
Ganun ba? Baka merong event.
Yeah.
Or construction.
Okay.
Or
So,
construction.
anong malakas sa inyo, Ami? Sa amin, let me just kick off with Boying Remulla, which our
Yes.
sister program, Morning Matters, got this morning with Gretchen Ho, and she said, and he said, they're looking into possibly yung victims ng drug war may have suffered the same fate as the missing Sabongeros. Of course, this is all very early, medyo conjecture pa at this point, but I would imagine na meron silang, he has enough basis to say that, which is very worrying.
Yeah. Pero Reg, matagal ako naging police reporter eh.
Oh.
Talaga namang yan ang MO ng mga nagsasalvage nung panahon namin, tawag namin salvage.
Oh.
Ngayon EJK. Talagang ganyan naman, tinatapon sa mga dagat, sa mga tubig, sa mga lake, and they are way down. Kung medyo sinisipag-sipag talaga, nilalagyan ng simento yung drum para hindi na makita talagang hindi mo na makikita eh.
Oh.
Talaga naman, it's possible na maraming ang ganyan. Dahil maraming ang missing then from the drug war, no? Hindi natin alam kung ano na nangyari.
Oh, because malaki din, I mean, of course, organizations like Human Rights Watch say the number could go up to 30,000, although of course yung official figures ng Duterte administration was closer to around 6,000. So malaki yun.
6,000 plus.
Yeah, in between that's a lot of people that cannot be accounted for, right? So yun yung nakakatakot dito if proven true na potentially may connection itong Sabongeros with the drug war victims.
Yeah. Although kung police nga involved, syempre may carry over yan from kung nasanay ka nang bumapatay, I guess it's easier, no?
Oh.
Meron ng mga na-interview ganyan na mga na hired guns and kahit yung mga dating law enforcer, kapag naumpisan mo daw, after the first time, it gets easier.
Why
Yun
is
ang sabi nila.
Why is it so hard? Parang customs din to, why is it so hard to cleanse the agency? Because everyone has tried. Now Nick Torre is trying, but before him, General Marbil tried. Before General Marbil, it was sorry, I'm forgetting the name. They all tried. Diba? When they come in, they sit down. The first thing they say is, "We're gonna cleanse the agency of scalawags." Pero as you said,
Ang hirap yun eh.
Oo.
Kasi malaki yung returns, Reg. Even drug trafficking, it's very big money. And ngayon, nakikita natin yung mga binabanggit dyan sa gambling, sobrang laki, billion, Diyos ko.
Up to, ano yung nakita ko, up to 500,000 per sabongero daw yung bayad. Yung,
yes, per person na yung contractor, tamo naman hired gun eh. May contractor na taga-baon, I guess, hindi ko alam kung taga-patay o taga-baon, kung separate yung pumapatay sa separate yung. We will know later kung magkakaroon ng more thorough investigation na may mga ganyang detalye.
Ami, sino mga kasagot niyan? Our first guest today, we've got NAPOLCOM, Vice Chairperson and Executive Officer Commissioner Rafael Calinisan. Welcome to StoryCon. There he is.
Yeah, he's there. Yeah.
Hi, Commissioner. Good afternoon.
Hello,
Thanks for joining
sir.
StoryCon.
Yes, magandang hapon po, Ma'am Reg, Ma'am Ami. Good afternoon.
I was gonna ask bakit napakahirap linisin ng PNP, but we'll save that for later. So first, let's set the context, no, because you just came into position. Kakastart nyo pa lang was it 2 months ago?
Yeah, roughly 2 months ago.
And already itong case of missing sa Bueros was dropped on your lap. This was the first big case that dropped on your lap. Tapos, yun nga, a few days ago, you met with si alias Totoy. Give me a better sense of how that was. Ano yung impressions mo sa kanya? And is he a credible witness in this case? Of course, bearing in mind na technically suspect din siya.
Yes, actually nagulat kami because more or less we were preparing for any eventuality, di ba? So heightened yung security always here in the National Police Commission. Nagulat na lang kami one weekend, one Saturday, sabi niya, pupunta ako sa National Police Commission sa Monday. We were taken aback. So we were anticipating his arrival last Monday. Dumating naman siya. We're thankful because with his arrival, with his filing of his complaint affidavit, gumugulong na yung proseso. I know we have been investigating for more than a week now compared to the marami na naipon na ebidensya ang DOJ, PNP, tsaka NBI. Pero dun sa 1 week naming investigasyon, syempre marami pa kaming kailangang habulin. Yung pag-file ni Totoy na kanyang complaint affidavit sets the process to start. And that is a welcome development for everyone. So, in fact, if I may be allowed to say it, just a few moments ago, our Inspection, Monitoring, and Investigation Service, or our IMIS, had this initial evaluation, and they thought it wise for this case to proceed. So, consequently, the IMIS has sent summons to 12 police officers for them to answer the complaint of alias Totoy. So as we speak, the summons are being sent to them right now.
That means the IMIS. That means the IMIS found reasonable grounds to proceed with the cases.
So upon initial evaluation, the IMIS found out that the case must proceed. So they issued summons at pinapasagot na po yung 12 police na still in the active service. To clarify as well, alias Totoy actually sued 18 names, 18 policemen in his complaint affidavit. However, based on our evaluation, 6 of them have been already dismissed from the service. 12 na lang po ang nasa active service. So yung 12 po na yon, yung po ngayon na pinapasagot ng IMIS ho natin sa Napolco.
Mr. Calinisan, si General Estomo, retired na siya, di ba? Kasama pa rin ba siya?
Ayun nga po yung nakakatawa eh. So nagulat din po ako yesterday. Just for clarity, that general is not included in the affidavit of Totoy. So wala po siyang binabanggit na pangalan na gano'n dun sa affidavit niya. So binanggit lang po niya yon when he was being asked questions by the media yesterday. So even assuming that that name was on the affidavit, wala rin po kaming jurisdiction na dun sa general na yon because he has already retired from the police service months ago.
So kung sakasakali, ano lang ang magagawa nyo apart from dismissal? Kasi merong parallel investigation for criminal, no? Yung criminal aspect na ginagawa ngayon. Ano yung magagawa ng Napolcom dyan?
Yun po, ma'am. To clarify, ang habol po namin talaga is the administrative aspect of the case. Yung pong criminal aspect of the case, yung pong pinupuntirya ng DOJ, NBI. So they're doing a good job with it. We're doing our stuff here for the admin cases. However, if I may say, if they need exchange of information, which we do, we exchange information po amongst ourselves. And if there's a need for the National Police Commission to also initiate criminal cases, maaari po doon sa hindi po makakasuhan ng DOJ or pag sinabi ng DOJ, ito po ang kasuhan din natin, maaari po mag-file din ng criminal cases ang National Police Commission. Criminal case naman po ito.
Pero hindi nyo kailangan hintayin na matapos yung criminal case ng DOJ for you to dismiss a policeman, di ba?
Precisely po, ma'am. Yun po ang kailangan pong malinaw sa publiko na yung po, hindi po, independent po yung dalawa, yung criminal cases at yung admin cases, hiwalay po yan. So habang naghalong kayo po ng mga buto sa taalik, hindi po namin kailangan antayin yon. Kasi ang pinag-uusapan po sa admin case, ito po yung fitness of a policeman. Ito bang pulis na to, dapat pa bang nagsusuot ng uniforme, dapat pa bang may tsapa yan, dapat pa bang may baril yan. So kung ang determinasyon ho natin ay hindi na ho dapat yan nagsusuot ng uniforme at dapat nasampahan ng kaso at in turn dapat na pong tanggalin, hindi po magdadalawang isip ang National Police Commission.
How many days do they have to respond to the summons, Commissioner?
They are given 5 days upon receipt of the summons. So meron po silang 5 araw mula po ngayon, assuming that they receive the summons today. I'm expecting that they receive the summons today dahil from what I know, sila po ay magkakasama po ngayon dyan sa Philippine National Police in some office there.
Okay. So mabilis lang i-serve, kumbaga.
Dapat po,
Alam
in
niyo,
theory. So happy rin nga po ako sa aksyon ng Philippine National Police na sila po ay nilagay sa isang opisina, be it restricted custody or some assigned in one office. So madali na pong servan ng summons itong mga respondents po natin na police. It is very nice because they are given the chance to respond. Kasi po, kung iisipin mo, kaliwat kanan po yung baterya ng kung sino-sino, daban dun sa mga pulis na ito po ay pagkakataon sa kanila na malinis ang kanilang mga pangalan kung hindi po sila involved.
Right,
At
but
kung sila naman ang involved, magtutuloy-tuloy pa rin po yung kasong ito hanggang umabot po ito sa Commission and Bank kung saan kami po ay magdedesisyon.
right, but predictably we would expect
Commissioner,
na.
pwede rin ba kayo mag-recommend ng whole departure order?
Sorry, wait. Pasok ko muna si Ronald, our political pundit.
Sorry.
Ronald Llamas. That's
Kanina pa ako nakapasok. Commissioner, pwede rin ba kayo mag-file ng whole departure order dyan sa mga concerned?
That has not been done yet. I think from what I know, it should be
DOJ.
the courts that should order the whole departure orders, kung tama po ang aking intindi.
Yeah.
Utos po yun ng judiciary, not the executive department.
But, we can expect that all 12 of these, tama, it's 12 kasi 6 yung na-dismiss na, so 12 yung pinapasagot natin at this point. So we can expect that all of them will deny it, right? I mean, these are serious charges. So what happens in that case? Do they
Assuming po na the answer,
do they get suspended?
i-evaluate po
Do
yun
you-
ng ating IMIS, the Inspection Monitoring Investigation Service, and if they feel that the case should still proceed, doon na po magkakaroon ng formal charge. Yun na po yung tunay na kaso na, magkakakaso na po sila, kung sakasakali po. Pwede naman pong hindi recommend ng IMIS yun at hindi po tumuloy, depende po sa ating IMIS po yun.
But in the meantime, do the policemen get suspended or sanctioned in any way, or they can still continue doing their jobs habang may inimbestigahan sila?
Hindi po, depende po yan. If after po ng formal charge, kung sakasakali nga pong magkaroon ng formal charge, maari pong magpataw po ng preventive suspension po ang National Police Commission upon the motion or request of the complainant. So, pwede po,
Mr. Kalinisan, apart from discipline, nag-ano din kayo, di ba, policy din for reforms in the police. Saka matagal na rin kayo sa police. Ano yung nakikita nyo, ulitin ko na yung tanong kanina ni Reg. Bakit daw hindi mawala-wala yung ganyang mga problema sa police? Matatanggal ba yan sa tingin nyo? You're familiar with the ways of the National Police simula pa nung matagal na eh.
Una ko, clarify ko lang sa yung tagal. Ako po head po ng NAPOLCOM na 2 buwan pa lang. Ako po
Sa NAPOLCOM,
commissioner po ako ng 5 buwan pa lang. Meron po tayong fixed term na 6 years. Bago po ito, ako po ang hepe ng People's Law Enforcement Board na mahigit 4 na taon. Pero yung po sa tanong po ninyo, I still believe that our policemen are professional. I still think that our policemen are okay So, yung po mga nakita natin ngayon, I will not say these are isolated incidents. Marami hong mga kaso na nangyayari. But yung pong siguro, kailangan natin hanapin yung root cause eh. Maybe there's a cultural problem to it. Maybe there's a recruitment problem to it. So, in fact, we've been discussing it openly in the commission. At tayo po ay nag-utos din na yung po ating mga kasamang commissioners na happy po ako sa set of commissioners po natin ngayon sa NAPOLCOM, napag-utusan ho natin na silipin nyo nga yung recruitment process ng PNP mula sa PNPA hanggang sa mga patrolmen. Kasi baka merong mga shortcuts na nangyayari o mga prosesong medyo dapat i-improve. Kasama na po doon ang curriculum, kasama na po doon ang crediting professors, kasama na po doon yung neuropsychological exams, complete background checks. So that is now under review. And we are looking very closely into everything. Kasi hindi po pwedeng band-aid solutions lang eh. Na kapag may nangyari, doon lang po tayo magre-react, doon lang po tayo magkakaso, doon lang tayo magtatanggal. We need to find the root cause of the problem. At we have 6 years. Personally, I have 6 years to do it. And sana ho, masolve natin po.
Well, Commissioner, you're forgetting...
Meron kayong miyembro na nakasama dun sa 5 listahan ng ICC na kasama dun sa Crimes Against Humanity. At saka nakasama rin siya dun sa Quadcom report. Anong status nun? Yung member mismo ng NAPOLCOM? Meron ba siyang sanction? Meron ba siyang criminal case? Ano ba nangyari sa kanya? Wala na kasi kami bilita.
Nag-resign po siya. May dalawa pong nawala sa commission. Recently, General Llamas, yung pong una, yung pong isang law enforcement commissioner, hindi ko na mapapangalanan, na-involve po siya doon sa PCSO/ambush of a former military person. Yun naman, he has resigned from the NAPOLCOM. Yun naman pong isa was embroiled in some controversies. Allegedly, he resigned from the NAPOLCOM, and that was and I replaced that person. So yung po yung ano.
So walang kaso na nakasampa sa kanila, Commissioner. Resigned lang sila.
I am not so sure actually. Ang nakakatawa nga ako, may kaso pong nakasampa sa akin ng isa. So, ako pa nasampahan ng kaso ng isa. So, yun na lang ko nakakatawang pangyayari ho dito. Yan talaga buhay.
Sir,
ayan,
hindi pa po General si Sec Llamas. He's secretary.
Alam ko po, very aware po ako. Sikat po si Secretary Ronald Llamas po.
Baka na-elevate. Hindi ko alam, nag-promote ka na pala to General Ronald. But,
wala ko pwede magkamali ho dyan.
Pinibiro na tayo ni Commissioner.
Institution po si Secretary Llamas po.
But coming back to yung problema sa police PNP, no, Commissioner, more than cultural fit, it's the economic aspect, right? Problema pa rin ba yung wages? I mean, of course, the money, I was just talking about it earlier. These scandals, these issues, there's always big money involved. And people get tempted, and that's a big part of why siguro it's so hard for you to cleanse the agencies, because when big money like that comes along, not everyone will be able to say no. So what kind of reforms are you looking to instigate around those to fix that?
That is a generalization. I cannot agree to it, but of course to some extent that is true, diba? Kahit naman po siguro anong profesyon, kung may ganyang kalaking pera at bilyon ang industriya, mapapaisip ka rin talaga. So I don't think it is isolated to the police only. Doon naman po sa katanungan nyo na ano pang dapat gawin, ang isa kong dapat pong gawin talaga is to strengthen the check and balance mechanisms of the PNP. Number 1 na po ang National Police Commission. So under Article 16, Section 6 of the 1987 Constitution, ang police po ng police, the one that has administration and control over the Philippine National Police, is the National Police Commission. So dapat po siguro patatagin pa ang NAPOLCOM, lalo na po sa mga panahon na ito. We should strengthen institutions po in government.
Mr. Kalinisan, merong mga meron kayong values formation, saka meron kayong regular na mga psychiatric exam, di ba? Tumatalab ba yun sa tingin nyo?
Isa rin po yun sa sinisilip natin, ma'am. Actually, in one case, yung pong vlogger that was put into light. Ayon po sa regulasyon, dapat po taon-taon meron pong neuropsychological exam.
Yes.
Pero parang hindi ho gaanong nangyayari yun eh. Mukhang nangyayari lang po yun before promotions. So we are closely looking into it. Like I mentioned, we are doing a deep dive. Hindi ho maaari na sa panahon ho natin tuloy-tuloy po ang mga ganyang kaganapan. Hanapin ho natin ang mga systemic problems po in the Philippine National Police. It all starts with awareness. It all starts with acceptance. Kung hindi po natin alam kung ano po problema, we cannot solve it. We need to know where we are now, where we want to go, so we can plot how we can all get there.
Commissioner, nabanggit nyo yung systemic problems ng Philippine National Police. Last year, yung isa sa poster boys ni President Duterte, si Colonel Espinido, may binanggit na very devastating comment. Sabi niya, the biggest crime organization is the Philippine National Police. Are you taking this statement seriously? Kahit medyo tingnan natin na exaggeration. Medyo matindi yung statement na yun, ha?
Yung pong totoo, honest po coming from my heart, hindi po totoo yung statement na yun na ang pinakamalaking sindikato ang PNP. Like I mentioned, I believe the PNP is a professional organization. However, sabi ko nga it all starts with acceptance and awareness. May pinanggagalingan po, may pinanghuhugutan tong policeman na ito. So kung ano man yung pinanghugutan niya, may basis ho yun. Ang tanong ho ano ba, saan siya nanggagaling? May mga pulis kasi na nai-involve sa samot-saring mga kontrobersya. In fact, nung isang araw, ang pangalan ng pulis, hindi ko makakalimutan Madlang Awa, yung nagpaputok doon sa sari-sari store. Dapat doon, wala tayong awa. Diba? So, kailangan mo silipin ano ba profile nung mga to? Is it an isolated incident? Isa-isa ba to o grupo-grupo ba to? So, yun po ang kailangan talagang aralin at himayin. Of course, we have an idea moving forward. Siguro alam naman ho ni General Llamas ng ating pong magulang. Pareho po magulang natin pulis So lumaki po ako knowing and seeing how it is. Tayo po practicing lawyer, public interest lawyer at that. Tayong abogado na ganito po mga kaso natin, serving the marginalized and the small one, the little one. So ito po abot natin. We just need to plot our ways forward. Happy po ako with the commission that we have. We're all progressive. Happy po ako with the Chief of the Philippine National Police. He's a reformist and he has 1 year, 9 months. Yung po aming working dynamics, nakakatuwa Kasi before I came in, lagi ang tingin sa NAPOLCOM, kaaway ng pulis ngayon, ang dynamics namin para kami magkapatid. And we're looking towards the moral and welfare of the policeman, pero we are also strong on accountability. So yun ang kagandahan na nag-uusap ang NAPOLCOM at ang PNP. So I salute General Torre kung nanonood siya ngayon. I'm sure he's watching. And I'm sure siguro isa sa mga bata niya nanonood. Maraming salamat General Torre for a very nice working relationship with the National Police Commission. Pero that's not a ticket also for us not to look. So happy ako na pareho kami na tumitingin ni General Torre sa mga kamalian din ng mga nasa uniforme.
By the way, Commissioner, yung father ko nasa empleyado rin ng NAPOLCOM before.
Wala po.
Until he died. No? Siya yung empleyado ng NAPOLCOM, yung father ko. Ang isang tanong ko lang, Commissioner, dati kasi naghumingi ng courtesy resignation si DILG Secretary Abalos sa lahat ng mga police officers. Pero parang wala nang naging balita tungkol doon Ano po nangyari doon? Doon sa courtesy resignation na yun na hiningi ni former Secretary ng DILG Abalos.
Minangyari po doon. In fact, 18 po sa mga senior officials, colonels and generals, inaccept po na ni President Marcos no less yung kanilang resignations. Totoo niyan, hindi naman mababahuluha ako pero naiyak ako noon noong panahon na yun. I was the chairman and executive officer of PLEB. kaliwat kanan po ang problema ko nung pleb po ako at I was fearing for my life. Naiyak po ako noon nung in-announce ng presidente. 2023 pa lang, we were having a meeting on certain problems, and I was briefing him on concerns that we have in then Quezon City. He's a very active president. Di alam ng tao na nag-uusap on details sa Quezon City problems, kausap presidente ng Pilipinas. So, happy ako na he took action. He accepted the resignation of 18 generals and colonels. Ang sigurong next phase dapat dito, yung lieutenant colonel pababa. Baka dapat silipin din yun. Yun nga lang, yung mga nag-propose ng resignation, ng mga top-level officials, lahat sila, I think, they have cases right now for proposing that suggestion. So we really have to think about solutions and creative solutions at that. Kasi ano yun talagang medyo malalim din ng kung isipin mo ang problema But kailangan talagang all heads to unite. In fact, ang NAPOLCOM, if I may, to digress a bit, ang part din ng kanyang function is to think of the crime prevention plan of the country. Every year ay nagsasama-sama ang mga different government officials, including the private sector, to think about ways on how to improve yung pong crime problem natin. And I would like to highlight that. We need the cooperation not just of those in the government sector, but more so of the private sector. So kung nagtutulong-tulong po lahat, nagsasama-sama po ang lahat, yung ating gray matter inuukol natin dito, ating resources ay efficiently handled, maganda po ang kinabukasan po ng Pilipinas.
And we'll leave it at that because we've run out of time, although marami pa kami gustong pag-usapan. But we look forward to hearing more updates from you, and good luck. NAPOLCOM Vice Chairperson and Executive Officer Rafael Calinisan. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po.
You're watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. We've got the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. Still with us, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Ronald Llamas, our resident political heckler. Heckler talaga sa prompter. Let's bring him in. Where are you guys?
Wala.
On screen, but I can't see you. I think si Ronald is still trying to make his way here. But in any case, also joining us this afternoon is our second guest. We've got Dindo Manhit, CEO and founder of the Stratbase Group. Welcome back to Storycon. Hi, Dindo. Good to see you.
Hi, Dindo.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, Dindo.
I just saw Dindo a few days ago because they had a major conference on the 9th anniversary of the arbitral ruling on the West Philippine Sea, South China Sea.
Yes.
So, which was a fantastic event. And congratulations, ha?
Andun ka pala.
Loko to si Ronald. Nagkita nga kami and I was trying to avoid that. Nagtatago ko but then he saw me. No, I'm kidding. Dindo, let's talk about trust ratings first. This is the survey that Stratbase commissioned. To recap, President Marcos' trust ratings jumped 10 points. We're now at 48%. This is for the month of June. For Vice President Sara Duterte, it's more or less unchanged. Nasa 61% siya. And then also House Speaker Martin Romualdez received a trust rating of 34%. That's an 8-point increase from his previous rating. So, you know, with these surveys, they always give us a snapshot of a moment in time, right? So what are these numbers saying about the current public sentiment?
You have to take into consideration that the survey was conducted last week of June. So quite recent, and also it marks the end of third year of the Marcos administration, and it's also one of the first surveys after the May 2025 election. So we felt it's good to ask a question about trust. I've always valued trust over performance in terms of asking that, because if I use a Filipino term, pag pinagkakatiwalaan ka, people tend to see you performing, but when you lose trust among the people, and I've seen this first in 2003 actually, when I first ran this question on, at the time, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo's leadership, how she was running for as an incumbent, but the trust level was quite low, and it reflected on her performance also. In this case, we see Marcos now recovering from really a downward trend, especially after the arrest of President Duterte in March 11. That's when we saw him in a monthly, really being affected by that. And it's a strong recovery going into his third year. But critical to what we see here is that there is an opportunity to grow more because there are undecided. Undecided can be turned into something positive if you see him, I believe, delivering on key concerns of the public. And the key concerns in our other survey, not Social Weather Station, but it's Pulse Asia, we continue to see economic issues is a top concern of Filipino people. Pressure on wages. Now, wages is number 2. It went up. But I don't know when Pulse is coming out with that. They just briefed us this morning. So you'd see that economics is dominating. And also, of course, on the part, I'll relate it to VP Sara, she recovered since February. Why? Because the impeachment did not proceed. That means the accusations against her, I believe, have given her a respite. So it will depend on how the 20th Congress moves forward with the impeachment, and see if her numbers will be affected by the impeachment proceedings and also the evidences that will be brought out during the impeachment proceedings.
Adindo, ano tingin mo yung dahilan? Bakit may kaunting pagtaas sa approval rating si President Bongbong? Dahil previous dito sa survey na ito ay yung oldest survey firms natin, SWS at Pulse, parang record low. Yung approval rating ni PBBM nasa siya around mid-20s. Yung almost parehas yung SWS at Pulse. Yes. Anong tingin mo yung major reason? Dahil nitong midterm election, medyo hindi naman ganun kaganda yung resulta para sa gobyerno. Ano yung dahilan? But in spite of that, ay tumaas yung kanyang ratings.
The rating of the president has to be seen from the attacks against him. We have seen that in March. And the attacks is happening in cyberspace. So if we will use our other data in StatWage, which is our data analytics, we saw it peak March, then it had an effect on the public perception by April. By June, we noticed, so this has nothing to do with SWS, no? We are seeing the narrative, the discourse in social media. We saw it as we ended June 30. The narrative of Marcos is slowly being felt by the public. That means napapaliwanag yung mga inter-public programs sila, yung mga ginagawa nila, and even in terms of inflation, they feel I saw in some data that people are feeling that their projects working, like in 20 peso price. No? But the one that really brought him down was the narrative, a targeted narrative. So the survey, I think, captured quiet time. What do I mean by that? Because it's the last week of June when not much was discourse. So I always say that ito yung tunay na feeling ng tao. You're not being shaped by the noise that you see in social media. Just like our question on impeachment in February last year and the ICC arrest, or this year, we like to ask questions when nobody is really being hyped or they're no organized. No, we feel that there's really this organized group in social media that is affecting public perception. Then it will affect survey results also.
Well, yun ang itatanong ko din doon, nag-plateau na ba yung ano? Kasi we all know na naapektuhan sila ng yung pag-aresto kay Duterte, biglang tumaas si Sara, biglang nagkaroon ng sympathy, and it even affected, people think it affected the vote in May. Yes, pero ngayon nagpa-plateau na wala na yung mga issue, di ba? You think that's a factor dito sa pag-improve ng ratings ni President Marcos?
It is a very big factor, and that factor is due that these are all organized noise. Kasi maybe tumigil ang kampanya. Maybe mabigat ang resources for this kind of campaign. And I think that's where the benefit is. So now, an opportunity for our own government, as they organize themselves under a new leadership in PCO, to really set the narratives, be more factual about what they're doing, and really also compete in the cyberspace, because that's where they're losing right now.
Dindo, since you mentioned the impeachment, no, because you also did commission a survey on that, 66% say that Vice President Sara should face the challenges through the formal impeachment process. In short, they want the impeachment to continue. Can we have that chart if we can, so the viewers can see? 59, when you break down those numbers, 59% say yes, they knew about the impeachment before, pero 41% said they only found out about it now. I'm wondering if you could help make sense of that for us.
That means they are, of course, again, these are snapshots of respondents all over the country. So it's possible that the 41% just heard about it, and worse, might even heard or read about it in social media also, where the narrative is shaped by whoever is posting and sharing. But that's us, we just treat it as that. That there is that, at least there is that awareness now, and within that awareness level, they believe at least 6 or nearly 7 out of 10 would like VP Sara to address these charges. It doesn't follow that they are for the impeachment of VP Sara, but they want this process, this constitutional process, to happen, to address the charges against her. So I see this as an opportunity on one hand for Sara Duterte to defend herself, but also it's a challenge to those who filed and voted for her impeachment in the House to really come out with evidences to support the case that they have filed and submitted to the Senate.
That's an important
On the other hand,
distinction.
siya pa rin ang most trusted official according to your survey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Explain that. Siya pa rin.
Balikan lang
because,
natin
Annie,
yung trust chart, the chart if we can.
Tahimik on the charges. Remember, she went down to 48 to 50% already.
Yes.
Of December, January. But people know about the impeachment, but the details of those charges are not quite clear. So a question now, will it affect her trust? If those evidences, based on the charges, the one that was filed, and are there real evidences, then we might see a change.
Dindo, nabanggit mo na isa sa dahilan or major reason bakit medyo tumataas yung approval rating ng presidente ay dahil sa communication, sa narrative. Medyo nagbabago yung kanilang narrative at saka communication strategy. Pero kapapalit lang nung kanilang communications head. So
walang effect yung communications head nila. It's possible also that remember, quite aggressive si Undersecretary Claire Castro. And I think it's not effective on one hand, but it's quite more of fighting back. Imagine if you fighting back maybe the negative narrative, but imagine if you even add now with the new PCO secretary more factual, positive initiatives of government. So I think that can still increase the president's approval rating. Just to harness the different programs of government funded by the 2025 budget and properly communicated. Beyond that traditional media, because really, there's data that we just got briefed about it, that the source of news now for at least 75% of Filipinos is online, be it Facebook and online news. So imagine the power of social media. So you have to fight also at that level for them. That's what I was referring Ronald earlier. There might be a pushback there. There might be followers of the president now following the narrative of being, remember, Yusek Claire daily is pushing back on all these attacks. So hopefully the new PCO leadership naman can put some content in terms of public programs, initiatives of this government. that will strengthen them more.
I think it's an important distinction that you made there, which is most people think the impeachment trial should proceed, but they're not necessarily in favor of it, right? Which tells us that, okay,
so people... they're not in favor of maybe convicting her at this moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Pero at least people understand, okay, the constitutional mandates that the trial should forthwith proceed. But conversely, on the other side of it, and I don't know if we were able to make this into a chart, but nevertheless, meron question, is the Senate delaying the impeachment trial? And 44% said they strongly believe that the Senate is, and the rest is medyo mixed bag. 22 undecided, 25 somewhat or strongly don't believe it's being delayed, and 9 don't know enough. What do we make of that?
It's the Senate really, if this continues, might affect their trust as an institution. I think it's quite clear to Filipinos now, maybe because of the news discourse on what is happening in the impeachment, really wants the Senate to proceed. You cannot simply be a tool of the person being charged, in this case, VP Sara, of stopping this from happening. So that's where I see it. So that's why there's 44% of people are. I see them as frustrated for them to say that they are. It's been delayed by the Senate, but it's good also that as we cross to the 20th Congress, it should be a lesson to the new Senate and the new House of Representatives. Come their convening by July 28. We hope that it can guide them. That's why we started asking these questions.
Going into the SONA, Dindo, ano yung unsolicited advice mo na dapat maging agenda ng Presidente to sustain this incremental increase in his approval rating?
I think he needs to focus on what is critical to the Filipino people right now, and we simply go back to basic needs. When I speak of economics, I continue to speak of really high cost of living for our people, presyo ng bilihin. No? Inflation, as a technical term, might be going down, but the reality for the public is mahal ang bilihin. Then mahal bilihin is connected to wages and also to actual jobs itself. So those three things, presyo, trabaho, kita, as one top economist used to say, I'm referring to former Secretary Habito, has used that term quite often, continues to challenge the president more than other presidents now because of yung feeling of the challenge. But also on the social side, we've been seeing the demand for better healthcare, better educational services. So critical is really the execution of existing government programs that best address public needs.
So still coming back to that.
Anong nakikita mong headwinds, Dindo? Halimbawa, apart from the impeachment, mag-umpisa na naman yung budget deliberations eh.
Yeah.
And naapektuhan sila, I think even the administration said, naapektuhan sila ng criticism over the 2025 budget eh.
Yeah.
Sa tingin mo, that's a headwind?
Quite sad that the 2025 budget might have had its own challenges, diba? Last December, if you remember that. But now, the best way to address that is, can they really be more transparent in the process? No? Considering every administration has not been transparent when it goes to the BICAM. We all know that. No? But there was really this campaign that was started by certain groups, but was jumped into by allies of former President Duterte. So it turned into really a strong social media campaign against the government, which affected their performance rating, especially as we entered the election season of February.
Yeah,
the first dip. So for me, that headwind can best be addressed if both houses of Congress will show transparency in the whole process, show transparency in the BICAM especially.
Yeah, that's what we're clamoring for.
And become really a responsive legislature, responsive to the needs of the public. So we have to challenge them.
Yeah.
We have to challenge both houses of Congress.
Yeah, and our challenge is full transparency, not just a portion of the bicameral deliberations. We're gonna have to leave that there. Thank you so much for your insights today. That's Dindo Manhit, founder and CEO of the Strat-Base Group. Thank you, Dindo.
Salamat, Dindo.
Thanks, Dindo.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining Storycon. Ami Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit. Ronald, nasa EDSA ka pa rin?
Hindi, nasa isang store dito sa sa Manila, sa Marikina Shoe Expo.
Ah, you gave up na, hindi ka na papunta dito.
Wala hindi na maandar
Anong diferensya? Anong nangyari? Why the traffic?
Grabe traffic.
Huh?
Okay, join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. We're One News, all sides, all the time.